A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a bold declaration of his economic vision, Donald Trump has laid out ambitious plans aimed at revitalizing the American economy. However, looming over these aspirations is a significant hurdle: the national debt, which currently stands at approximately $36 trillion. Trump's proposals include sweeping tax cuts, increased tariffs, and various economic programs designed to stimulate growth. Yet, the reality of high interest rates and the escalating cost of servicing the existing federal debt may severely restrict his ability to implement these plans effectively. The aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic has exacerbated the situation, driving inflation and consequently raising the government's borrowing costs. Projections indicate that debt service costs in the upcoming year could surpass spending on national security, thereby limiting Trump's fiscal flexibility as he seeks to advocate for income tax reductions. Shai Akabas, the executive director of the Economic Policy Program at the Bipartisan Policy Center, highlighted the pressing nature of the debt crisis. He stated, "It's clear the current amount of debt is putting upward pressure on interest rates, including mortgage rates, for instance. The cost of housing and groceries is going to be increasingly felt by households in a way that are going to adversely affect our economic prospects in the future." This sentiment resonates with many Americans, as the burden of high costs has been a pivotal factor in shaping the political landscape, contributing to Trump's recent electoral success. As the federal government allocates approximately $1 in $5 towards repaying investors for borrowed money, essential areas such as infrastructure and education find themselves underfunded. The implications are profound, as the debt service is starting to crowd out critical investments that could foster future economic growth. In response to these challenges, Trump has appointed billionaire investor Scott Bessent as his Treasury Secretary, signaling a commitment to addressing the unsustainable trajectory of federal debt. However, the complexity of the situation cannot be understated. The potential renewal of Trump's 2017 tax cuts, many of which are set to expire after next year, presents a conundrum. Not only could these tax cuts further inflate the national debt, but they may also lead to higher interest rates, exacerbating the cost of debt service and diminishing any anticipated economic benefits. Critics, including economists and some members of Congress, have voiced their concerns regarding the implications of Trump's tax policies. Brian Riedel, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, remarked, "Clearly, it's irresponsible to run back the same tax cuts after the deficit has tripled." This sentiment is echoed by Democrats who argue that Trump's tax cuts disproportionately favor the wealthy, depriving the government of essential revenues needed for programs that support the middle class and lower-income individuals. Jessica Fulton, Vice President of Policy at the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies, emphasized that Trump's proposed tax policies would likely exacerbate the deficit, particularly through further reductions in corporate tax rates. The political landscape is fraught with tension, as Trump's team asserts that he possesses a mandate to fulfill his campaign promises, including lowering prices for American families. Transition spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt stated, "The American people re-elected President Trump by a resounding margin, giving him a mandate to implement the promises he made on the campaign trail, including lowering prices. He will deliver." However, the reality of the financial landscape poses significant challenges. During Trump's previous tenure, the federal government spent approximately $345 billion annually to service the national debt. The environment was more favorable at that time, with lower average interest rates making repayment manageable despite rising debt levels. Current projections from the Congressional Budget Office suggest that debt service costs could exceed $1 trillion next year, surpassing both defense and non-defense spending on critical programs such as infrastructure and food aid. The surge in interest rates has been a key factor driving up the cost of debt service. In April 2020, when the government was borrowing extensively to combat the pandemic, yields on 10-year Treasury notes plummeted to as low as 0.6%. Today, those yields have climbed to 4.4%, as investors anticipate that Trump's policies could add trillions to projected deficits. While President Joe Biden has managed to maintain strong economic growth and stave off recession during his administration, he too faces the repercussions of high deficits, partly a legacy of Trump's previous tax cuts. As the political landscape evolves, Trump's allies and Republican lawmakers are already exploring strategies to curtail government spending to mitigate the debt crisis and lower interest rates. High-profile figures, including Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, are advocating for the incoming administration to refuse to allocate certain funds approved by Congress, a controversial stance that could spark legal challenges regarding congressional authority. Russell Vought, who served as White House budget director during Trump's first term, has proposed a budget for 2023 that includes over $11 trillion in spending cuts over a decade, aiming to generate a surplus. Furthermore, proposals have emerged to repeal energy and environmental components of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act as a means of reducing deficits. Trump has also expressed interest in implementing tariffs on imports to generate revenue and alleviate the deficit. Republican lawmakers, such as House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington, have suggested adding work requirements to Medicaid as a strategy to trim expenses. The current situation echoes a historical precedent from 3 decades ago when high interest rates pressured the White House to address debt service costs during President Bill Clinton's administration. In that era, rising yields on 10-year Treasury notes prompted a bipartisan agreement on deficit reduction, ultimately leading to a budget surplus starting in 1998. As the political landscape continues to evolve, the question remains: can Trump navigate the complex web of economic challenges and deliver on his ambitious plans for the American economy? The stakes are high, and the implications of his decisions will undoubtedly shape the future of the nation's fiscal health. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.